you can't break through. When I met this amazing, gorgeous goddess, I had the same revenue 3 years in a row. And I can tell you, so talk about hitting a ceiling of the wealth that you're creating in the world. So I've been there. I've got you. I know it. And I can tell you, this is the woman to help you break through. She's amazing. Let me introduce to you a guest I'm super excited to have. This is Halle. Halle, I'm gonna let you describe what you do because all I can describe it as is actual magic.
Well, I'm so grateful for that. Thank you. I call myself a transformational wealth coach, but I have to say that I only came to that like last year. For most of my coaching practice, and I'm in my 9th year of coaching right now, I have called myself just a transformational coach or a transformational mindset coach. And what I've discovered is that the people who come to me usually come because they want to make more money, they're excited about making more money, but they don't know how. And usually most people, like, there is a certain amount of wailing, but how? Yes, but how? I would be here if only I knew how. And I feel like it's allowed me to realize that over time, almost everybody that I've ever worked with has made not just more money, but like a lot more money. Like I've seen like people, that whole thing about like 10x your income. Well, I've actually seen that happen. Or, like I worked one client, I've worked with her for 4 years. She's doubled her income every year we've worked together. So, and while it was below 6 figures to start, I mean, it's like gotten really far up
It
there,
doesn't
right?
take long of doubling it,
Yes,
when you're
exactly.
doubling. It doesn't take long to really
I
rack up.
love the exponential math there. So, so I feel like there's like everything to me comes back to mindset. So there's this sense of like, am I willing to go? Because some people aren't. I had a woman who was like, I'm hiring you, I'm working with you. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that sounds wonderful. But then when I said to her, like, what's possible for her, and I'm an intuitive coach, of course, so I hear sometimes like the numbers. In fact, that's like my little superpower. It's so bizarre as I've developed that over the years. I'm like, okay, well, that's fun. So like I could hear that she could make $500,000 a year. And I said to her, how does that feel for you? And she goes, well, that's just crazy. And then she called me a few days later and she messaged me a few days later and she goes, listen, I really feel like that's closer than I realized. I'd really like to talk to you about that. And I had felt that she was very kind of half it, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And so I said to her, are you ready to do this? Are you ready to make a 6-month commitment at least to coaching with me so you can get to where you want to go? Because I mean, I have people who say to me like, I got more out of working with you for 3 months than I did out of a therapist's couch for 10 years, because it's a lot of like clearing out trauma and stuff. But so when I said that to her, she didn't message me back for 24 hours. And then she wrote back to me and she said, I'm sorry for wasting your time. And I was like, huh, isn't that interesting? Because not everybody wants to go. Not everybody is ready. I like to get to people who are like, I am so ready. And if only I knew how, then I would whatever. And I feel like that's where you were.
I feel like I would love to share a little bit of my experience because and just if it isn't obvious already, like I have coached with Halle and personally single-handedly know her magic, but I think people could really learn from my experience. And I actually didn't come to Halle because my income had stagnated. Although of course I wanted that to change, that wasn't why I had come. Why I had come was I knew that I was playing small. As much as that like term is overused, I knew that I wanted significantly more visibility. I knew that I wanted to just be bigger and bolder and build a platform. And I knew how to do it because I'm a marketer. I've been doing that, but I wasn't doing it. And I knew that like my excuses were excuses. Like I knew it wasn't that I really didn't have time. And I knew, you know what I mean? Like I knew like there was something blocking me. And that's really why I came to Halle. The money is like an added bonus for me. But so I want to say that that's why I came. I do also want to say that since working with Halle, I've gone viral on TikTok, I've gone viral on Instagram, I've hired a YouTube coach, started a YouTube channel, started showing up consistently on YouTube. I think I'm doing like 3 YouTube videos this week alone, plus a couple of shorts. Like, and it's not like I'm just grinding it, hustling out in a way that feels like bad. It's like, oh my God, I'm finally open and living my purpose. And I think at one point I told Halle, I feel like my heart burst open. And that to me is actually like one, it's a pathway to more money, right? But also that was the greater gift. Like my heart burst open and I became me again. And so I'd love to have you speak to this because I actually feel like the thing that stagnated my revenue wasn't the house or wasn't the I needed this marketing strategy. It wasn't even the I needed to be on TikTok or I needed to be on YouTube or it was the like I needed that to happen. I needed to feel like the full power of being me again. So I would love to have you speak to that and like your wealth of knowledge on that.
Thank you. And thank you for everything that you just shared. I feel like we are all called to this life to have this incredible big purpose. And, the expression, I think I've seen this on like a little sign somewhere, is many are called and few are chosen. And that used to really make me annoyed because I was like, oh, that's so exclusionary. But it's really like we're all being called by whatever our higher power is, God, spirit, the universe, the shadow of the turning. We're being called by unseen forces to be the very best version that we can possibly be. But for a lot of us, we don't want to go. I mean, I remember doing some spiritual work back 25 years ago I was actually reading Wallace Wattles' The Science of Getting Rich. And at the beginning of the book, he talks about the idea that if you impress your will upon the formless substance and you begin to think in what he calls a certain way, being rich is inevitable. And I remember reading about what was required and thinking, oh, that's a lot of work. It's like, well, how much harder is it to like schlep and struggle for years and years and years? But in my 30s, I was like, oh, well, that's a lot of work. And so it's like we're coming at this from the wrong angle so much of the time. And when people come to me, they rarely come because they know what they want and they just want to fix that thing. Usually it's, I don't have any clarity on on how to get anything that I want. I just know I want something more. Or it's, I have clarity about what I want, but I can't see the path to getting there at all. Or it's, I think I want this. I mean, like you were doing some different work really when I first started working with you, and you've made different decisions about your career path.
Yeah.
Not because of the work we did together directly, but because you became more Laura. And in becoming more Laura, you were like, this is no longer my path. This is actually my path. And I think that can't be really overstated. Like that can't be stated enough. It can't be overstated because what happens, I'll give you an example. I worked with a woman a couple of years ago. She was a restaurateur. She had opened 3 restaurants. Her 3rd restaurant wasn't as profitable. And she came to me and she said, hey, I want you to help me increase the profits in my restaurants. Okay. I love stuff like that. I've been in business for 30 years. I love working with entrepreneurs. Okay. During the course of our first couple of phone calls, we uncovered, she said, I don't remember the last time I felt joy. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Oh yeah, not since I was a child or something. Oh, that's like, this is like, halt the presses. This is the thing we're going to address. So we spent weeks and weeks developing that joy capacity for her. And she called me. We worked together for about 6 months. She called me about 6 months ago and is now engaged to this incredible man who she met while we were working together and who she showed up differently for than she had ever showed up before, because she no longer had the same agreements, the same understandings, or the same. And ironically, the money stuff with her restaurants, etc., fell away. There was a
Right.
lot of there were a lot of issues, and I won't get into the specifics, but there were a lot of issues that were trapping her inside of a particular container. And once she asked her, started coming to that place of how can I achieve joy, it was
Yeah.
like, oh well, I don't want to do that with my business. I want to do this with my business. I don't want to go here. I want to go here. And she started allowing herself because the joy began to flow. And that changed everything. And that's what allowed all of the other pieces to come in. So I rarely get into, like, in the first call, I'll say, like, what do you remember? Like, well, what do you want? What do what's this going to look like in 3 months or
Right.
6 months, or, and then can you have that? Yes, that and so much more,
Yeah.
because the more you shift into the allowing, the more you create an environment where you're able to break through not just your money ceiling, but all your ceilings,
Mhm.
right? Because a
Mhm.
lot of times entrepreneurs have this tendency, and I tend to work mostly with entrepreneurs. I will work with people who are like C-suite or whatever, but I tend to work mostly with people who are running their own businesses. And there are a lot of parameters that we put from the world of work paradigms
Yeah.
onto what we're doing in our business. We say, well, it has to look like this. And what if we took those blinders off and it could look any way that we wanted? And then what if we just said what we wanted and
Yes.
allowed the how to unfold on our
Yes.
path to what we wanted? That's where I think the magic happens. And that's certainly that I saw so much of that with you. Like, you got into it and you were like, this is going to be so much fun now. And then it got to be more
That
fun.
was why I wanted to have you on and talk about this, is because it became so clear to me that, like, once I became more of me, right? Once I really embraced, like, this is who I am, this is what I want, and I'll share some of the specific things that I felt like were big breakthroughs for me. Um, then it was like I was at a place where, like, I kind of felt a little lost in my business for a while. I had gone through burnout. I had built my business. I'd done kind of a live launching model, and I was like regularly running these 5-day challenges and pop-up groups, and I was making a lot of money doing it, but it was exhausting. Um and my my work with you made it fun again. It made it what I wanted to do again. And it's not that I don't work a lot of hours. I do, but it doesn't feel like, oh, I have to work. It feels like, oh, I get to play at the thing I love playing at the most. And that shift, it's like, that has allowed me to create more of the visibility that I want. That shift has allowed me to change. Like, let's talk ROI. Like, I am making more sales now than I was before working with Halle. Like, I am more visible and have a bigger audience than I was before. But it wasn't like, oh, here are the tactics and strategies to make more sales, and here are
Yeah.
the tactics and strategies to becoming more visible. It was like, out of being more of me and becoming like just the over the top Laura that I am, and feeling the joy of being that and wanting to be that. It's like this. I've been doing these interviews like I am with you. Um that didn't come from like Laura's a strategy girl. That didn't come from like a this is a strategic plan to get to here like it used to. It came from a like, what would be fun? To interview all of my favorite people, and to approach it from that way. That's the biggest shift. It's like, it's fun again. It's joyful again. It feels like me being me and playing me again.
Yeah, yeah, that's so beautiful. And I feel like just as you have these pieces inside of you that you had not allowed to see the light of day for so many years, even, decades, we all have that inside of ourselves. And
Yes.
so many of the people I work with are not connected with those pieces of themselves. So they're not only lying dormant, they're lying neglected. And the neglect is something that it's almost like a sadness inside of you. It's almost like a hidden part, like, um, I don't know, like you have this secret twin or something. And it's not that they're dead, but they're dormant. And it's the dormancy that there's this, like, almost like this little calling, or this little, like, scratching at the window of, I would love to come in. And when you fling those windows wide and allow those other pieces of you to come in and really shine, it makes so much of a difference. And I want to mention something else that I think is really important. Is that okay?
Please.
Yeah. So most of us are familiar with that Marianne Williamson quote, who are we to say that we are talented, gorgeous, fabulous? Who are we not to be? But the end of the quote is actually my favorite. And in the end of that quote, she says, it is not, it, it doesn't serve anybody when you play small. Basically I'm not quoting this properly, but she basically says, like, when you're hiding your light under a bushel, it's not serving anybody.
Yeah.
And I love that concept, but I kind of take it like a little step further. It's not just she says, by shining your light, you give others permission to shine theirs. And that's absolutely true. But I feel like there's this expansion on this. And by them shining their light, they give other people permission and other people permission until the whole world is illuminated. And I feel like, especially women right now, we are all getting this call all at the same time, that we are being called to our own wealth, to our own wealth consciousness, to our own elevation of our wealth, because we are being called to do really powerful work on the planet. And the way that we have of exchanging energy on this planet is primarily through love, which is fine, but also through money. And so to participate in the money energy exchange, we have to have our own multiple streams of income. We have to have our own, multi 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure, whatever business.
Yeah.
And in order for that to happen, we got to get out of our own way so that it can start to happen. And I feel like there are a lot of women getting this call right now, and that more will be chosen when we allow ourselves to be chosen, because there's this little part of you that's dormant, that's inside of you going, hey, let me out. I'm ready to shine. And then you're going to help others shine and others shine until the whole world is illuminated.
I love that for a variety of reasons. One, I believe so deeply to my soul, and I think you'll agree with me that our desires are on our hearts for a reason. Like, I have a calling for visibility because I'm meant to share an important message with the world. And my clients have a call for that because they have important messages to share with the world, and they're meant to lead in the areas they're meant to lead, and to change the world in the areas they're meant to change the world. And sometimes we have a knowing, like, we're meant for wealth. And I certainly have that knowing. I know a lot of people do. And to, like, honor that and be true to that. And I also want to delve into one of the things that I absolutely really, really love about you is, you've done all of the inner work and stuff that we've talked about that's made a huge difference, but you also, like, teach practical steps with crypto, and you share a lot of this stuff on how women can actually expand their wealth, which is really, really cool. And really kind of like on the innovative side of what it means to be a wealth coach. So I would love for you to share a little bit about that work that you do.
Yeah, I have a variety of exercises that I use, and I'm going to say most of them are downloaded. Like, I get a new exercise whenever it's needed. So I have stuff that I've been working with for 8 years, and I have stuff that I've been working with, like the last one came in like less than 2 months ago. So it just really depends on what's required. I do actually, because I have 30 plus years of experience in business now. I started my first company pretty much out of college, being absolutely not trained in any regard and having no idea what I was doing. It was one of those things where, like, if somebody came to you and said, hey, you don't know, you would be like, well, let me go hide my head under a rock. But because I didn't know what I didn't know, I just went and started the company, and the company got very successful. So since then, I've been running my own businesses. And in the last, 9 years, I've gotten the great privilege of getting to help a lot of people with their businesses. So I can do the financial strategy, I can do the business strategy, but mostly it is about clearing out the blocks. And those blocks can be in the form of traumas. And I'm going to give you just like a couple of pieces of this, like if you're an entrepreneur and you feel like you have a money ceiling, like a couple of different techniques that I feel help break through. First of all, I want to preface this by saying I use what I call bumper sticker coaching. If it's short enough to fit on a bumper sticker, you're going to remember it in an emergency. What I don't do is give you like, well, my patented 12-step system, because that is boring and it's not going to serve you, because you're going to get into that emergency and you're going to be like, your brain will short circuit. So all this stuff sounds like it's super simple, because it is. So don't confuse simple and easy. Laura knows this. Don't confuse simple and easy, because we have a tendency to do that. And then we say, oh, I know, which, by the way, is, those are the two most dangerous words in the English
And by the
language,
way, if I
right?
can just interject here,
Yeah.
if you, if you're watching this, you're probably like a coach or an expert and have an online business. Notice like what Halle just said is excellent marketing. I know it's a separate, but
Oh,
you don't want, like, it kind of drives me nuts as a marketer and a messaging expert and copywriter. It kind of drives me nuts when I hear people being like, oh, what I teach you is so easy. It's so easy. It's so easy. And it's like, if it was so easy, why do they need you? Why do I need you if it's so easy? Right? It can be simple. Your process can be simple. It can be straightforward. It can be easy to follow. But like, there's a reason why I need you, and there's a reason why you charge a lot. But like, why you, who's watching this, charge a lot for that, because you've done the work to make it simple for them. But it's not like so easy that they could just do it without you, right? Or do it without your system. You've done the work to make the complex things simple for them to do, but it's not like, oh, like they could just go figure it out on their own yesterday. Okay, keep going. I just was like, that's such a pet peeve of mine.
And it's super, super valuable. And I'm going to add a couple things to that. You also have gotten the education that you need. You also have created a process that is something that people can understand. And it is in handing over that process that they're, again, exchanging energy. And their form of energy is called money, and our form of energy is called time. But like, for example, the fact that I downloaded it does not mean that it is available to everybody for free, right? That's not the thing. Like, I'm the channel through which that information comes, and that can support you immensely when you begin to think like that. Spirit, on the other side of this, spirit, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, does not care that you're making a lot of money. They're excited for you. It's excited for you that you're making a lot of money. It does not say, oh, money isn't okay. We say that. We have imposed those things. And if you're experiencing trauma around that, I mean, that's definitely something that can help you break through your money ceiling, is to release that old story. We tend to have a lot of old stories around our money and around our ability to accept and welcome in wealth. So thank you, Laura. That was super helpful. Super, super helpful. So back to what you can do to break through your money ceiling. The first thing, and again, simple, not easy, make a definite decision. Make a definite decision. Choose that it's going to be like this. When you do that, ask yourself, well, if it were like this, what's one thing that would irrevocably change in my life? Because when you make a definite decision and you allow yourself to go to, once the decision has been made, once the thing has already happened, what is something that it would change irrevocably? And now you start acting as if the thing had already happened and make that irrevocable change, whatever it is. You know, maybe, for example, once I have my $1 million a month, I will give myself a mani-pedi every single month. I will treat myself to a mani-pedi every single week. Well, go do that. Go do that now. Oh, can't do that because I can't afford that. Do a mani-pedi for yourself every week. That's the kind of thing where, or find a different thing that makes you feel expanded. If that feels like work and that doesn't feel good, well, what could you do? Could you do it once a month, for example? What would make you feel expanded once you make that definite decision? So that's actually two pieces, is one, make the definite decision, and two, align yourself with the energy of it. Once that happens, what would that look like? And what am I allowing to shift in my life to bring that closer to me? Yes. We have a tendency as people in business for ourselves to be very grounded in the here and now. But the here and now is your thinking up until now got you to where you are. Your thinking today going forward will get you to that next step, to that next energetic shift with your money. So if you want that to take place, you're going to need to come from a slightly expanded, a slightly elevated place in order to get to the place that you're going to want to go. So what might that look like? And the other thing is, give yourself permission to show up differently. That way that you were isn't serving you anymore. You know, Laura shifted her choice with her work because in the becoming of Laura, she went, oh, well, this doesn't feel aligned anymore. So as you feel that shift, go for it. And then the last piece that I want to say is, I want to remind you all, spirit, God, the universe, whatever your higher power is subtle. It's more subtle. Do not make my mistake. I used to say, okay, if I hear it 3 times, that means spirit's giving me a message. That was my clue. And eventually I realized I wasn't listening the first 2 times. You know, I don't need to wait until I get the brick upside my head, right? I can listen to that still small voice and make a shift. But when I realized that, I was like, oh, it's so much more subtle. And in now going from subtle thing to subtle thing to subtle thing, it's been so much more playful and fun because I don't get into the slog or the struggle of it before trying to pull myself back out. It's like, you know, imagine you're driving down the street at 10 miles an hour. It's a lot easier to stop and to make that turn unexpectedly than it is if you're going 40 and your foot's on the gas, right? So give yourself permission to hear those little subtle shifts. You know, if you're not a spirit person, or you like, I don't know, like if you told me like, let my angels talk to me or let my higher self talk to me, like you're a crazy lady, that's totally fine. Your gut instinct. You're the thing that makes you go, oh, I should go left here, or I should go right. Super, super subtle. And the more you practice listening, when you hear the little guidance, the more you're going to get the be in the flow of the yes.
Yes. I just want to like recap, because that was like such really tangible advice. It was like, decide, shift into alignment, right? And listen to the subtle nudges that we so often miss. That's huge. I would like to add like a really specific thing that I gained from you that I've actually started teaching and share.
Yeah.
And I think it's specifically applying to visibility here, but I think it can apply to other things too. But particularly the visibility thing, I think it helped me big time with my block. Is we created a persona for, in fact, I named her Star Laura, right? We created a persona for who I get to show up and be. And then that version of me became so tangible in my mind. And I also got to show up and feel like safe to show up, because I wasn't the parts that were really scary to show up got to stay behind, and like the Star Laura got to show up. And I don't know if you apply this to other areas, but one, if you want more visibility and you're struggling with the confidence, like I would tell everybody, like create a persona, name it what feels true and good to you, and like just be that persona. And what happened to me is, it was like the more that I executed on being that persona, the more it just felt true. But like, I feel like this could transfer, and I'm curious if you've ever used this in this way, could transfer to like, you know, that version of you that's showing up in your relationship, or that version of you that's showing up big time in your business. It's like, if you can, like, I was having trouble solidifying who I am as that person in my mind. And that just made it to where it was like this tangible, real thing. You know, we all know be, do, have. It made a tangible thing I could be that was me, but like this version of me I was ready to step into, if that makes sense. And so I'd love to hear your opinion on that. But I feel like that one little thing, and lots of things were phenomenal, but that one little thing was really a catalyst that I needed to be able to like shine brightly.
Yeah. So I'm going to remind you that we didn't just start with Star Laura, that Star Laura was like the last persona that we developed for you. And the
Right.
reason that you were connecting with the other personas is that they were helping you to clear traumas from your childhood, from your teenage years. And really, I would say most of the work that I do in trauma clearing with people involves like the little version of themselves. So the thing we would call little Laura, when I was working with you, there's a little version of you living inside of, you know, anybody who's watching this right now. You're getting like the little you, and that version where we clear that work and we do that trauma clearing, that is what allows us to access the really core versions of ourselves where we're allowed to fully integrate again and be ourselves. So I feel like when you say, like, I immediately hear a no about the relationship thing, because that could be too much into, there's plenty of people out there, just check out the Tinder profiles, who are masking who they really are
Mm,
and not letting you see, like only getting you to see like that window or whatever. But where
sure.
it works really well is when we are front facing. Like, I'm such an open book. I'm always just me, right? Like, that's just how I show up. Like, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I will tell you I love you within 5 seconds of meeting you and mean it. You know, not everybody, but for the
Right.
most part, like if I feel it, I'm sharing that. Like, that's how
Sure.
I show up. And that clarity of consciousness and that desire to really like connect from my heart, I think shows through in everything that I do. And so
Yes.
some people are much, you know, are as like this as I am. I don't want to say some people are more like that, because I like that would start to be a pathology or something. But I feel like there are other people who are like super, super closed where I'm very open. Right.
Right, right.
So
And I felt like, you're right. The other stuff was super important that it came first. I felt like for me, Star Laura wasn't like this like mask persona was I putting on.
no,
It
no.
was the authentic version of me that I was
Right.
afraid to show.
Right. Right.
And so
And
this
I,
gave me the courage to like name that part of myself that I was
yeah.
hiding and to bring it to light and let it
Yep.
shine. So
Yep.
yeah, it's not a persona as in like a mask, but like almost like a this is a part of me that now gets to be seen in a brighter way.
And when it comes to that and illuminating a piece of us that has been hidden, I think we all have those. That's what I'm saying, like the little dormant piece, right? It's knocking at the window. So you, and I mean, you had a background as an actress, and Star Laura got to shine for a little bit. And then it was like she got put back in the closet. And I
Yeah.
think that's true of so many of us, whether you, like as a child, were going to be the biggest sports star, you were going to be a paramedic or an astronaut or an actor or, you know, a movie star, whatever. You were your dreams for a minute, and then life
Mm,
got in the way. And it's not like, Laura, you're never going to be a movie star now. That's not the path that you've chosen, and you don't mind that, right? But Star Laura can still really shine her light
yeah.
and be there. Whereas before it was like, oh, that was a costume that I had to put back in the box. No, I get to put that on and
Yes.
wear her. And that is part of me. And now I am being more fully authentically myself. And so
Yes.
in that regard, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but then Star Laura can show up partly at, you know, on a date with your husband, or partly at, at a family event with relatives. And then there's like,
I find myself operating more and more and more as like it's not even a separate me anymore. It's like the me, but it's like the one that's capable of shining and showing my full self.
yeah, yeah, it's almost like you were this beautiful cake, but you weren't allowing yourself to ice it. And now you're like, buttercream frosting for everybody. And so that's this really beautiful energy that you're allowing to shine through all the time. And of course, who wants an unfrosted cake? It's so much better. It's delicious, but it's so much better with the frosting, right?
Oh my god, you are brilliant. Okay, I have taken way more of your time than I asked you for. Um if it isn't abundantly obvious, I I just want everyone to know Halle. I want everyone to work with Halle. I want everybody to get the incredible gifts that I've received from working with Halle. But like, where does somebody begin entering your world? Is it hallemoney.com? Is it sending you a message on Facebook? Like, let me show people the pathway to the beautiful gift that you are.
Oh, thank you so much. If you are interested in learning more about my downloads about the future of money and where I think our world, especially as women entrepreneurs, is going, I recommend that you go to hallemoney.com, and there's a freebie there called The New Energy of Money. Are you ready? And so you can pick that up for
It's good.
yourself, and then that will put you into my world. You can actually send me a message on Facebook, on LinkedIn. You're welcome to do that. I do have a podcast and YouTube show called Goddess of Crypto, which is really about it's about crypto, but it's by women for women. I interview all kinds of really cool women. But again, it's in that kind of new energy of money space. I really feel like, from the perspective of what I was sharing before, we are all being called to something greater right now. And we are all being called to learn more about what's going on in our money consciousness first, not just the practical education of like learning about, blockchain and crypto, which I think is the future of money, but rather learning about how to be in alignment so that we can elevate our wealth. So I talk about that, every week on the show. And so that's goddessofcrypto.me. You can pick it up on your favorite platform. It's on like 17 platforms in YouTube. So
I love it.
I
You're
love
amazing. You're
you. I'm
brilliant.
so
I
grateful. Thank
unequivocally
you.
recommend everyone working with you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. And I loved everything that you shared as well, because, strategically, I feel like you're just so on point all the time. And, I just think that everything that you share with your clients is so powerful and important, and also you believing in them. I think that's something that you and I have in common. We have this beautiful tendency to see the potential of the person that we work with and to hold that space for them while they're getting there. And I think that's so powerful. So I know I do that with my people, but I see you do that with
Yeah.
your people, and I think that's amazing. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. All right.
Thank
Bye.
you.